From our 22 News Broadcast Center, this is 22 News in Focus.
Good Sunday afternoon and welcome to 22 News in Focus. I'm Laura Hutchinson. The voters have spoken and casino gaming is legal here in Massachusetts, which means in our area, MGM Springfield has the green light to move forward with their plans. Now that the vote is over and they've been granted a license by the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, you may be wondering when construction will actually begin. Well, today on 22 News in Focus, we'll be talking about the upcoming construction and how the local economy and transportation will be affected by this enormous project. Joining us first today to discuss the details of the casino plan, we have President of MGM Springfield, Michael Mathis, joining us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me back.
Congratulations. It was a big election night for you, and you must be feeling really good about the results.
Yeah, incredibly relieved. It was a long journey and very exciting. Very exciting to be at this point.
And it must have been nice to see such a large percentage in your favor as well. So not only are you moving forward, but you know that you have the majority, a good majority support behind you. Yeah,
exactly. Feel like we have a mandate, whether it's from Springfield, where we went from 58% to 65% with this new vote, and then across the state, a 60% win is really important because it allows the whole state to rally behind this important initiative.
Okay, so you were granted the license from the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. Is anything else stopping you from moving forward at this point?
No, not at all. We are full bore ahead. We're going to continue to work with the City Council locally to permits and different items that allow us to move forward. And we're working with the city's office, the mayor's office, Kevin Kennedy with the Chief Development Office, who I think is going to be on your program today. Just left a meeting with him with a few of his department heads talking about next steps.
That's right. We have Kevin Kennedy here today. We have Tim Brennan talk about traffic and regional impact. This is a major project, and there is certainly a lot to talk about as far as that goes. Now, I know right after the election, there was no time wasted. Some of your folks were out there actually testing the soil in Springfield. What was going on with that? What is next on your agenda?
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't us because we slept in that following morning. But yeah, we had geotechnical consultants out there, I think starting 7, 8 o'clock in the morning out on the site testing soils for our garage, which is going to be our first structure to go up. So, you know, the $800 million of economic development and the 2,000 construction jobs literally started the following morning.
Wow. So this parking garage is going to be first to go up.
Correct.
Why did you do it in that order? Why did you want that to go in first?
Yeah, from a sequencing standpoint, there's about 700 surface parking spaces on our site. And in order to get the construction going, we would have to take those out of service. Now, the good news is we're making way for a 3,500 space parking garage that'll be up approximately a year to 14 months after we start construction. So we wanted to make sure that that facility was up, that building was up first, so that we can give that back to the public. It's going to be open to the public as well as to our employees while we're developing.
Okay, how quickly do you think that will go up? Because I know that parking may be an issue while construction of this actual parking garage is going on.
Yeah, I think we're looking at, again, 12 to 14 months from when we start that construction. I think we'll start taking those spaces out of commission in the spring. So I would say the summer of 16, the garage will be up.
Okay, is there any plan to put parking somewhere else while some of this construction is going on?
Yeah, there is. There's a whole coordination effort, largely in connection with the courthouse, which I think is one of the more impacted entities by our construction. So we've been in periodic conversations about, you know, what their needs are, identifying adjacent lots through the Springfield Parking Authority and Kevin's office, and to mitigate any disruption and impact. So we want to make it as convenient as possible for the folks until that garage is back up, and then I think it'll be incredibly convenient because you'll have a number of covered parking spaces that they'll be able to use. Okay,
so for the folks who work downtown and need to get down there, there will be some plan that they will all know about while construction is ongoing for this, for them to
Yeah,
park.
Absolutely. Communication is important. So once we nail down the details, we'll do a communication plan, probably in conjunction with the city, to make sure that all the businesses, all the local businesses that have employees or customers that park down there, know that where the different opportunities are, and we're going to ensure that economically no one's burdened with a rate that's more than what they're paying now, for example. So those are the kind of commitments we made to the city and to the downtown area.
Okay, where are you with selecting contractors as you're starting to move forward in this phase?
Yeah, we're in the final stages of interviewing a general contractor firm. I think we'll make our selection and decision in early January. And until that point, Seaboard Drilling is the name of the company that was out there Wednesday morning after the election doing the samples. They're a Chicopee company. So we're going to continue to engage local contractors for some of the early work, and then we'll roll out our major construction packages in the early part of next year.
Okay. Do you think that you're going to be using mostly local contractors for the entire project? How much of that usually is local, and what do you reach out regionally for?
Yeah, a good part of it is local. So we would expect the same to happen in this case, if not more so. You know, there's a lot of sophisticated firms in Massachusetts. I think our bigger commitment to the region is to try to develop vendors from Western Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. But there's no question that there's plenty of firms that we can draw from the Commonwealth.
Okay, and what about jobs and the application process for folks who are going to be working at the casino and working maybe in the parking garage? If you have folks working in the parking garage, when would that application process start?
Yeah, it'll really be rolling. I think the lion's share of our employment, hiring and training will happen 12 to 18 months before opening. Okay. So, for example, we're going to open up our Human Resources Center probably the summer of 16, mm-hmm. contemplating a summer of 17 grand opening. But until then, we're going to be doing different waves of hiring. In fact, there's a few folks in our local office, our campaign office, that have been with us for the last 2 to 3 years that I'm excited to be giving offers to in the next couple weeks. So we're going to have our first employees of MGM Springfield, by year end. And throughout the construction process, we'll have construction staff, security, different people on the site. So it'll really be a sort of a rolling process. So we're starting with the parking garage, and what do you think is going to be happening next? What does your sort of timeline look like for this? Yeah, it's the site is big enough that we can build on a parallel track, which is why it'll be a really efficient sort of construction. But the garage is important because we wanted to give that back to the public. Otherwise we'll sort of be moving from south to north, the garage being on the south end of the mm-hmm. site. So we'll start building the what we call the podium, or the casino and retail area, and then going up with our 25-story tower. So we'll be working towards State Street. Okay. And what about hotel space and having enough place to, how many visitors are you expecting to come into the area for this once it's up and running? And are you going to be utilizing some of these private hotels? I know that there's the new, I think it's La Quinta down there. Right. And I don't know if there's talk to get that Court Square building. Right. There was talk about maybe turning that into a hotel. If this, is there something with that maybe possibly moving forward? Yeah, we're expecting 8 million visitors. Throughout the year at our facility, and we purposely undersized our hotel. In Las Vegas, if this were a Las Vegas type project, we'd build easily 1,000 rooms. Mm-hmm. In this case, we're building 250 rooms, and the idea was we wanted to make sure there was excess demand for the existing hotel stock. So when you think about the La Quintas, or you think about Sheraton and the Marriott, after our opening, we wanted to see occupancy go up in those facilities. We wanted to see average daily rates go up, and in fact, we wanted to encourage new hotel development. So we are going to bring more people onto our site than we can service, and that's by design. And the 31 Elm Street, which we're in conversations with the city and the Peter Picknelly Group, who's the master developer of that site, we're really interested in creating a boutique hotel in that area, returning it to the Court Square hotel that it used to be. And I think it'll activate Court Square itself, which is one of the most beautiful sites in all of New England, as far as we're concerned. Mm. So again, I think we'll have enough demand to make that a successful operation, because our hotel on site isn't overly sized. Yeah, that is a gorgeous building over there. It really is. It was nice to hear that could possibly go back to a hotel. I'm sure a lot of people would be happy to hear that. Still a lot more to talk about. Mitchell Edis with Mohegan Sun talking about
possibly putting some kind of gaming in Northern Connecticut. I still want to talk to you about that, traffic, crime, how we're going to address all those issues. So we'll continue our conversation on this after the break. Stay with us. We'll continue talking to Mike Mathis. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about the Springfield Casino project. Here with me to discuss the plan, we have Mike Mathis, president of MGM Springfield. Now this week, the chief executive officer of Mohegan Sun in Connecticut was talking about, now that they're out of Massachusetts completely, they of course have a casino in Connecticut, and they're looking to put some kind of gaming now in Northern Connecticut. I know they're talking about Enfield and Windsor Locks. What was your reaction to that announcement, so to speak? It wasn't really an announcement. It was to a reporter down in Connecticut. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the potential for expanded gaming in Connecticut's been out there. That's not the first time we've heard about potentially putting slots in Hartford and closer to the border. Certainly the timing of their announcement comes with our selection. So. Not unexpected. I think the existing operators are all going to want to react to the new competition. That's something we would do if we were in the market. But I think because Springfield is so unique and what we're doing is so unique, that we're going to continue to drive the kind of visitors that we have in our business plan. We always knew that there was a potential that something would happen in upstate New York, something potentially would happen in Hartford. But I think you can't replicate downtown Springfield and all the great amenities that are here, whether it's the Basketball Hall of Fame or Six Flags or the Quadrangle. So we welcome all challengers, and we'll be prepared for it. That's part of what we do in our business. Now,
as we talk about saturation of the market, Maine considering adding more casinos, you talked about New York, maybe even Connecticut as well. Does this make you alter your construction plans at all? Have you downsized anything? Since from when you began this process to now, when you start hearing about some of these other projects?
No, not at all, because again, we contemplated that some of this competition would come. Unlike the Connecticut facilities, which are multi-billion-dollar facilities, and at one time really dominated this market, our project is, I think, reasonably sized at $800 million, and it's a downtown urban environment. It's not the resort in the woods. So I think there's so many different amenities when you think about our project. You think about Mass Mutual Center, which is our convention center, and Symphony Hall and City Stage, as well as all the things I just talked about, the Basketball Hall of Fame and Six Flags. So when I think about our project and our experience, it's really more than just the project site. It's all the things that we're going to collaborate with and leverage in this environment. So no, we continue to tweak the design. Some things are getting smaller, some things are getting bigger. That's very natural in this process, but it's still the same project, and we think it's going to be very successful.
And even seeing that some of the revenue in Connecticut has been down, they've had some layoffs and everything. Even that, I mean, you still feel confident moving full steam ahead with this, even when you hear some of the regional casinos suffering.
Yeah, I think if you look at the New England market, where certain facilities have lost revenue, others have grown it. Maine, for example, is very successful. They're looking at expanding gaming there because they pull from Massachusetts customers. The biggest impact from Connecticut is well documented is because of the Pennsylvania growth of its casinos, as well as the success that the Aqueduct in New York City has had in Queens. So where the market is shrunk in some cases, has grown in others. There's no question that we're going to have an impact on some of the surrounding gaming operations when we come on board. But there's plenty of customers and plenty of market potential in this area, and I think it's just about distinguishing your product. In our case, we've got a really truly innovative design that everybody recognizes is going to be very special and distinguish ourselves from all the existing competition.
Now, I know that you've talked a lot about traffic and crime and all that during the campaign leading up to the vote. Now it's not a campaign anymore, but people do want to know certainly how this will be addressed. So do you anticipate an increase in crime? When you have any large development, there's going to be something that happened. You could be putting in a strip mall and you'll be getting some kind of crime that comes out of that. How is MGM going to be addressing addressing that? Springfield already has its fair share of crime with a large police department. Are you going to be pulling from that police department? You're going to have your own security? How's that going to work? Yeah, we've a collaboration with the city and the local police commissioner has always been an important part of our proposal. We're finally going to be able to invest millions of dollars with the city on public safety. We're as invested as the city is about changing the perception of downtown Springfield. But I think some of the challenges that Springfield's had when it comes to crime is a testament to the fact that it's not about a casino or about new visitors. It's about some of the other factors, largely unemployment and some of the abandoned buildings downtown. So when we first came into this market, you know, the police commissioner said that they welcomed us to come down there because we would finally put bodies on Main Street and be able to convert some of these dilapidated buildings. And, you know, that's where crime originates. And if you look at all the studies, and this came out during the campaign, and fortunately, I think the people of Massachusetts heard us and looked at it themselves, is there is no connection between the creation of casinos, the entry of casinos, and crime. That's well documented. It's all the other factors. And I think when we bring 3,000 jobs to this market, $800 million of economic development, and all the spin-off impacts that come with that, you're going to see crime go down, and you're going to see unemployment go up, and you're going to see all those other factors like high school graduation and those other factors all have a positive reaction. One of the things we're doing with surrounding communities and with the city of Springfield is we're going to actually study that throughout the process. Okay. So we can document that after the fact. So when you say that you're investing in public safety, does that mean that you're providing funds to Springfield Police Department or creating your own? No, that's through our host community payments. Okay. Our commitment to Springfield is approximately $25 million a year. Okay. And you would compare that to the $634,000 that the project site generates right now. So there are dollars set aside for fire, for police, new academies, a downtown patrol unit that'll benefit the entire downtown corridor. As well as early education funding, traffic infrastructure, park infrastructure. Those dollars are for the mayor and the city council to spend, but we've earmarked certain buckets for public safety, which is an incredibly important issue for all of us. Okay, so then Springfield then takes that money and utilizes it in a way that they see fit. Once the casino's happening and they see what the needs are, they can then choose to use that money in a certain way. Is that how it works? That's correct. Okay. Also, you mentioned transportation as well. We are talking about this I-91 viaduct reconstruction project happening in downtown Springfield. Is MGM now working with the state? This is going to be ongoing construction in both areas. What are you anticipating? Is this going to slow you down at all or slow them down, having you also doing work? What's going on with that? Yeah, that's a state project or federal project, and what we're doing is coordination. I think it works out pretty. They complement each other, both of our projects. I think they've got a 3 construction season timeline for that span of 91, and that matches our project. So what we want to make sure of is through coordination, if one of the ramps were being closed for the I-91 work, that we were in the ground working on offsite utilities at the same time. So that ramp only gets closed once. And it's been a really good relationship with the state and the agencies on that. We meet with them periodically, and to the point where our contracts are going to say that our workers have to coordinate with the I-91 contractors, and the state's going to put the same provision in their contracts so that we're perfectly aligned, and that, you know, no question that downtown's going to be disrupted when that work happens for both projects, but we just want to make sure that we mitigated it and that they're only disrupted once. Okay. And are there any plans to add any extra ramps or anything when your casino is open? No, I think I-91 and the existing ramp system works. I think we're talking about widening, perhaps in some cases, and redirecting some of the traffic. And you know, these are improvements that really I think could have happened any point before our development. Because of the amount of volume that goes through Springfield on I-91. But with our project and the money that we're going to be paying to the state as well as the city, I think there's now an opportunity to get to improve some of those conditions. Okay. There's still some questions about when some of these contractual obligations kick in, so we'll take a short break and then we'll continue and we'll talk about some of that. So we'll continue our conversation with Mike Mathis after the break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today's program is all about the proposed Springfield Casino and its effect on the region. We've been talking with Mike Mathis, president of MGM Springfield, about the plans and concerns of some residents in Springfield and surrounding communities as this project gets going. Now, we've heard many times that a casino is just one part of the region's economic recovery. You know, I know MGM has made a lot of agreements with some local communities as well. When do some of these contractual obligations actually kick in? Is it different for all the communities, or is it when the casino is open? How does this work?
Yeah, it does vary a bit. I think, you know, if you take our obligations under the host community agreement with Springfield, coupled with the surrounding communities, over the next 6 months to a year, we'll be making millions of dollars of payments. Some of those are prepayments to the city of Springfield against our obligations once we open, because we want to make sure there's funding available to get some of the early lead time items like public safety. You know, we want a healthier Springfield by the time we open, and we're willing to make some of those payments during construction before we're actually generating any revenue. Similarly, we're working with the surrounding communities to fund some early infrastructure, particularly West Springfield and Long Meadow. Some of those dollars go towards improvements to some of the roadways leading up to the site. And then for most of the communities, including those two, we're making payments to give them the ability to track the impact of our project, both positive and negative. Because one of the things that we talked about with those communities and our commitment was we believe there will be a net positive impact to all of the communities, whether it's employment, higher house values, lower unemployment, more commercial activity, offsetting with whatever the additional traffic may be. So, but we committed to make sure that we prove that out after the fact. So we have the ability post-opening to do a look back, is what we've been calling it, and check all the different data, metrics, and objectively show whether in fact there's been a positive impact to each of the communities, and it'll differ community to community. So there's dollars set aside that they're able to measure that and give them some of the ability for us to look at it after the fact. Okay, so does that then leave room that if there are some negative impacts, that's something that we can go back and take a look at? I know that in a community in Maine, it was one of the surrounding communities up there, they didn't expect all of the traffic that they were going to be getting. They, you know, needed some new stop signs and some new crosswalks and things like that once the casino went in and was established, because some of their roads just weren't equipped to handle all the new cars that were coming into the area. So if something like that happens in some of our surrounding communities, is there sort of leeway to then renegotiate, or how does that work? Yeah, that's exactly right. We said if we caused a net adverse impact, when you balance it all out, we would remediate that. Now, there's different ways we can do that. One is the state itself, through the tax revenues we're going to be generating through the gaming tax. There's probably 20 to 30, upwards of $40 million annually that's available to go back to the communities through local aid, through a capital infrastructure fund. There's very specific funds called out, and that's why the Gaming Act, we said all along during the campaign, was such a great piece of legislation, because it thought about those types of things. So there's state monies that are available, but we've also said that we, MGM, would also make payments to remediate any problems that weren't taken care of by the state, for example, to the extent that there are impacts that are outweighed by the positives. Okay, and what about from a business standpoint? I guess what kind of new businesses are you looking to bring into the casino, and what happens to those businesses down on Main Street as well? Yeah, we've talked about you know, mostly new retailers, regional retailers, national retailers, and restaurant brands coming down to our facility. But we're already seeing this. We think it's really important that colloquially, what we call the other side of Main Street, also experience some of that economic development. And you know, we've seen it. You know, one of the stories that that was telling to me is there's a property owner on Main Street who's held a bunch of commercial space for last 10 or 15 years, waiting for this boom that the city's undergoing, and they had the opportunity to sell to rent to a dollar store at a really high rents, and they passed on that. Well, 5-10 years ago, they would have been happy to get a deal like that, and because they think they have a bigger ambition for Main Street because of what we're bringing. So you could feel that catalytic impact, and you know, again, what the city's done with some of the economic development around the CNR Changchun project on the old Westinghouse site, as well as UMass Amherst, UMass Springfield coming downtown. Really exciting things. You add Union Station to it, and we are a large part, but we're really just a part of what otherwise is a huge economic boom that's going on in the city.
So can you tell us any of the businesses that you've reached out to try to get them to come into the casino? Are there any leads on any businesses that we can know about?
That one I got to keep close to the vest because of, especially now that Connecticut and those folks are getting more and more competitive. We want to make sure they don't take any of our top prospects. But there's a lot of excitement, and we'll start rolling out some of those announcements. But these are a combination of local, regional, and national brands that'll put Springfield back on the map. So we're excited about that rollout.
Well, I can't say I didn't try to
yeah,
get
that's
that
right.
list.
That's right.
Okay. And approximately when do you start to at least see some of those developments? When you do talk about businesses coming in, is it usually closer to the open, or is this something we could actually start to see developments on in the next year or so?
Yeah, I think in the next year we would probably make some announcements related to our anchor tenants. And then once you have the anchor tenants in, then you can start working on some of the specialty tenants that don't require as much of a lead time. So the public won't have to wait until opening to find out what we're doing in the facility. We'll start making announcements as those come on board. But there's a lot of excitement, and we continue to field calls, especially after the vote, because of the uncertainty that was created. I think now that we're official, a lot of different businesses are really excited about looking at Springfield really for the first time, and I think that's a combination of what's going on in the city as well as the MGM brand.
And I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but how much exactly are you paying Springfield in taxes? And is that something that changes throughout the years as you sort of gauge how well you're doing, or is it a set number that you give them every year?
Yeah, there's different pieces of it. Generally, it's $25 million annually is the way we've projected it. But I think about 17.6 million is what you would think of as traditional sort of property tax equivalent. And then there's a $2.5 million fund annually for public safety that's set aside specifically for that purpose. And then there's $2.5 million that are set aside for community development, and that's early education funding, museums, all the different things that we talked about. And then there's a component that allows the city and MGM to be partners on a percentage basis. So based on our projections, we think that altogether that's about $25 million annually. We hope we exceed that, and the city would take advantage of that as well because of that percentage participation.
Okay, right. Very good. Thank you so much, Mike Mathis. We really appreciate you being here. Certainly looking forward to seeing some of these developments and hoping all goes as planned. Timeline, you're still looking at summer of 2017?
Yeah,
is that right?
Somewhere around there.
Okay, well, thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations to you again, and we certainly look forward to some of these developments. Appreciate it. All right, and after the break, we'll speak with Springfield's Chief Development Officer about all of the happenings in Springfield. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. We spent the first half of the program talking with Mike Mathis, president of MGM Springfield, about the incoming casino. Joining me now, we have Kevin Kennedy, Chief Development Officer for the City of Springfield. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate it. Well, we're just hearing about the timeline, the financial aspect, the ins and outs of this casino that is now moving forward. You must be pleased to see that this is something that's happening to Springfield now.
More than pleased as it relates to the casino. It's been a long 3 years. I've met with all the players over the last 3 years, and it's been an interesting journey, but we're glad we're here. And the best part of it, as Mike mentioned, it's not the only piece. There are so many more things that are going on. We're really excited.
Yeah, so first off, is the city prepared to handle this? We're talking about traffic. We're talking about, a lot of construction happening in downtown. Is the city ready for such a huge project to get started right now?
Absolutely. We spent 2 hours this morning with Mike and the MGM team coordinating the building aspects of that. We've had numerous meetings about the viaduct, about Union Station, about Morgan Square, about the blast area, all these things. We now have meetings that go with the Chamber of Commerce. The bid, Develop Springfield, the Parking Authority, the coordination that has to go with all these things. We're talking about massive economic development in our center city, And it's a big coordination task, but are we ready? Yes.
Okay. What do you expect to be the biggest challenge while this is happening? You know, he was talking about how the parking garage is first, and this will eat up some spots for those people who work down there and get downtown. Do you see that being a challenge, getting around that? Is there a real plan in place?
If I were to use one word, it would be communication.
Okay.
Everything is going to revolve around communicating the situation at hand, whether it's the viaduct or the construction at the casino or what's happening parking-wise. Don't forget, we're also doing innovation type things. There's an announcement on Friday morning about Bay State Health coming into downtown Springfield with their innovation piece. It's really about communication. We need to tell people what's going on, where the potential problems are, and where to go to get around, basically.
When we left off with Mr. Mathis, we were talking about businesses coming into the area. They're, of course, looking to attract business into their casino, which benefits them. I'm wondering, for you, have there been any interested businesses just, you know, settling in Springfield outside of the casino, but maybe because of that? Have we already seen any interested businesses wanting to come into this area?
Absolutely. O'Connell Healthcare from Holyoke moved to Springfield, or is about to move to Springfield. I've got 2 meetings tomorrow morning with two companies that are looking to come to Springfield. The easiest indicator of what's going on is look at the parking authority revenues. And the parking authority revenues are going up in downtown Springfield because more people are parking there. That means more people are coming there, more people are working there, more people are going to restaurants. So it's coming. What the Yee family and the Picnelli family are doing, bringing back the fort, psychologically, that's a big deal. We will also be announcing, or actually turning on the uplighting right before Thanksgiving that the Business Improvement District undertook as their task. And again, there's a lot of coordination, and it's not just businesses. You've got to take care of the crime, you've got to take care of the lighting, you've got to take care of the marketing. And right now, all the players are playing. And that's probably the thing that's got the mayor and I most excited.
Okay. You mentioned Mr. Picnelli. That's Opal Real Estate. They're working on the fort and also the Court Square Hotel, or the Court Square building that used to be a hotel. That was something that Mike Mathis was talking about, could possibly turn into a hotel as well. It's been sitting empty for quite some time.
It makes sense to look at that as a boutique hotel. And we're going to be talking with the redevelopment authority about that. First, you have to work out an arrangement between the Opal, which is the developer, and the potential user, which would be MGM. And once that is worked out, you need to look at the entire project, which involves more property down there. And from a downtown perspective, think of the office space that's already in use. We're not going to be putting more office space on the market. So that will help drive the vacancy rate or the lack of the vacancy rate in the other parts of downtown. It will bring more activity to Court Square. And we're also engaged in some discussions about First Church. And so a lot of things are kind of happening. Sometimes I have to stop and think about what am I doing next. It's a very pleasant problem.
Yeah.
And you really have to kind of keep all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle in their right spot and in their right context.
Now, I know a big piece of this is Union Station that we've been talking about for many, many years, but this is something that there's actually work being done on this. So how does that fit into this jigsaw puzzle, so to speak?
Well, we just recently received $4.2 million from the governor and the Secretary of Economic Development, Greg Bielecki. And we're in negotiations with the parking authority for additional parking that we're talking about putting there. And basically what we want to do, the mayor and I are committed to, we want to do a full project. Remember, the announcement currently is about a phased project. But we really want to core and shell the whole building, and we want to tenant the whole building. And we believe we're very, very close to doing that. And we're hoping we have some announcements in the next month or so.
Now, do you actually, okay, so the announcements in the next month or so might tweak what I'm asking, but is there actually a timeline for that project right now to have that complete?
Right now we are sawing off the baggage building from the terminal building. And there's big holes in it right now, and there's going to be bigger holes in the next couple of weeks. We're out to bid right now for the garage package. and we will be going out to bid for the terminal package in the winter, late winter. And we're still looking at a late summer of 16, early fall of 16 opening. So we're on track.
All right. And I know that you also have the Changchun rail car coming into the area as well. How huge is that for the city? Is that something that we're really going to feel the impact
to bring a major manufacturer to Springfield, Massachusetts is unheard of. We need to thank the MassDOT board and the governor for the way they structured the bids that they did for the project. We need to thank a lot of people here in Springfield for what we did rolling out the carpet for Changchun. We also talked to Hyundai Rotem, but Changchun was selected because they're aggressive and because they want to make this their North American manufacturing headquarters. That is huge. They are chasing business all over the country, and we're very, very much looking forward to that. If you take the context of Changchun, Union Station, MGM, what we're doing with the Innovation District in the downtown, what Silver Brick Lofts is doing with the renovation of market rate housing at Morgan Square, what Teach America is going to be doing here with recruitment of teachers, what John Barberi, the police commissioner, is going to be doing with rolling out some policing strategies in the next month or so. It's a comprehensive look at how we can bring our city back.
Yeah, I'm seeing a totally different Springfield in the next couple of years if all of this goes. I mean, what are you anticipating? How are you anticipating this, changing the face of Springfield?
I would be very happy if people looked at this city in 3 to 5 years and saw a complete remake, saw some vibrancy, saw some excitement, and saw the people from the suburbs wanting to come back to downtown Springfield for entertainment purposes and all the other things. Do not underestimate the entertainment giant that MGM is. We are going to be seeing high-class, first-class acts that are going to be in downtown Springfield. And really, what the mayor and I have talked about it a number of times, we need to reestablish Springfield as the regional capital. That doesn't mean we're the only city. That means that we are accommodating to everybody else. And we think there's going to be enough business for everybody.
And what does this new administration need to do, the new governor, need to do to make it more business friendly in Springfield? Is there anything that you are already planning to hopefully ask for just to make things move?
I think the appointment of Jay Ash by Governor-elect Baker is a good one for Springfield. He comes from a gateway city like Springfield, and I think it's going to portend very well for us. I would also tell you that from a pure political point of view, the fact that we have casinos that are going to be built here in Massachusetts, they're going to be built over the next 36 months or so, which are the first 3 years of Governor-elect Baker's term, which means that the 10,000 jobs that we talked about and all the money generated and all that, it's going to be on the agenda when Governor Baker, or then Governor Baker, is possibly running for re-election in 2018, because remember, we're all going to be opening in the end of 2017. So the timing is very interesting.
That is interesting. Wow, you have a lot on your plate right now, but I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about all these exciting projects coming to Springfield. Union Station, Changchun, there's so much happening. I appreciate you coming on and filling us in about it.
Thank you for all your help.
Thank you so much. And even though the casino is being built in Springfield, the ripple effect will be felt throughout the Pioneer Valley. We'll talk with a regional planner after the break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today's program has been all about the casino and the development that comes with a project of this size. Joining me now, we have Tim Brennan, Executive Director of the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Tim, thank you so much for being here. We've covered a lot of ground today. With this casino comes hopefully businesses, the possibility of crime. We talked about that, the possibility of traffic as well. And another project happening simultaneously is the reconstruction of the I-91 viaduct. So I want to ask you first, where are we with that? And do you have concerns with MGM starting their construction in downtown Springfield basically at the same time?
The viaduct was advertised in September as a project. It's in our jargon a mega project given its scale. The award of the bid is scheduled for February of 2015. It's a design-build contract, which is an effort to expedite the schedule. It's a 3-year cycle for the actual construction, but people need to understand that that's an expedited schedule. A normal schedule would be twice that amount. Price tag is approximately $230 million based on the latest design configurations.
Okay, now the last time I talked to you, Mass DOT was placing little boxes around downtown Springfield. Just driving around, I saw them in West Springfield, a few other surrounding communities. What was that all about?
That's an attempt to come up with a traffic mitigation plan during the construction period to minimize the impacts. There are going to be disruptions, undeniably, but by the way and the understanding of how traffic moves, what the alternatives might be, how you may create new alternatives, you can mitigate the adverse impacts for that 3-year period, which would be good for businesses, employers, workers, commuters, etc.
Now, do you have any concerns about the businesses placed down there, right on Columbus Boulevard, Columbus Ave, and Main Street? As you know, MGM is beginning their construction. They were talking about, there's going to be some disruption down there. There's going to be some disruption when the, viaduct gets underway. What about those businesses?
Again, the whole effort at traffic mitigation is to not deny that there are impacts, but that they can be controllable.
Okay.
And what comes with the viaduct is a traffic mitigation plan. So all that data collection you saw going on the street level, there was also a massive survey that was undertaken. They're using that data to configure a plan to, again, try to make the impacts as modest or minimal as humanly possible, in the interest of businesses and the public at large. Keep in mind, though, that whether to do the viaduct or not is not an option. It's essential. When you think about it, I-91 is sort of the backbone of the region. It distributes people to businesses, schools, cultural opportunities, and it's essential that it be there, and more essential, it be safe.
Now, do you expect, so you said that will actually go out to bid, or it will be granted in February of next year?
That's the schedule, yes.
Okay, so when do you actually see this happening?
As fast as possible. Again, the whole idea is that they're going to work all season long and through the winter. Another interesting aspect of the bid is there's actually a reward for finishing earlier than the timeline. There's $8 million incentive award for anyone that bids on this project that beats the completion date substantially. Completion date is targeted for the end of August of 17 at this point.
Okay, and how about construction from the standpoint of when the casino is in and finished, not construction anymore? Many surrounding communities, West Springfield, having some concerns about what that will mean. What in your studies what do you anticipate happening?
Well, it's interesting. The approach that was taken, and this was crafted in large measure by the MGM folks themselves, was we're going to do the best we can with our traffic engineers, and we had a peer reviewer looking at their data and pushing back on anything that we didn't necessarily agree with. But essentially, you heard Mac Mathis talk about it, we're giving monies to the communities. If there's an adverse impact, and we didn't anticipate it, and you can show us, the burden of proof is on the municipality, but we're going to give you the funds to bring that forward, then either from the state mitigation fund that's built into the gaming law or their own resources, we will fix it. So all the communities, there's 8 of them, did receive money. It's now incumbent upon them to decide how they use that to do the monitoring, and again, to bring forward the surprises, the unhappy ones, where something might go amiss.
Now, what from a regional standpoint, how does this factor into your planning? I know that you always have ongoing projects, ongoing, target locations of where you want to build. How does this now impact some of your goals and some of your projects?
Well, some we see as an enhancement to, and the one I would definitely point out is rail. What people don't necessarily know is that We're working with Connecticut on a commuter rail system that's New Haven, Hartford, Springfield, that will come online at the end of 2016 before the casino opens. So patrons to the casino or the development around it could actually arrive, depending upon their origin, by train. And MGM has a shuttle service that they're offering, so it will connect, for example, to Union Station.
Right.
So any way you can bleed people off coming in their own vehicle is a help. Similarly, we've worked closely and continue to with the PVTA, the transit system, about how do we deliver employees of the casino in other than their own automobile. Again, that lessens the impact. So the whole variety of steps, and if you can put them together in some sort of system, that again could bode well for how we deal with this major development when it comes online.
So rail is obviously a big one. Have there been any considerations about, you know, I don't know, trolley or additional taxi cab services and all that? Or is that something we're going to start seeing?
One of the commitments that you'll find in the MGM proposal is to run a shuttle service around the downtown to pick up and discharge people. We've urged them to use a fare-free system for that particular shuttle, because that will really be attractive in terms of ridership. And again, it bleeds off. I'm not going to say that the majority of the traffic is not going to arrive by vehicle, automobile, et cetera. It will, or large buses for that matter. But we do think we have this advantage that when we were on the drawing boards, we didn't know anything about the casino coming. It's a major generator of traffic. Could also be a lot of passengers that could be on rail or bus as well.
Now, we don't talk a lot about Holyoke in this conversation, but Holyoke sits so close to Springfield. Are you expecting any major development or impact on Holyoke or even Northampton? How do you expect this to impact Western Massachusetts? Are you seeing any big opportunities?
Well, again, as you move out across the region, the impact of a casino is obviously lesser. But there are good things going on in Holyoke, too. Remember, not that long ago, they received the Massachusetts High Performance Computing Center, which is right in the heart of the downtown. We just heard from Holyoke yesterday that they have put out the notice to proceed on building their rail platform. So Holyoke will get a stop for the first time since 1989. There's an innovation district around the computing center, so there's interest in businesses coming there. So I think there's a lot of good things going on in Springfield, but there's a lot of good things going on throughout the valley. We're in a really good place at this particular point in time.
Yeah. Now, how does you know, not tying, you know, the gas tax, does that have any impact on any of these projects? Maybe the I-91 viaduct, as we talked about in particular. Is that project definitely going through, and are any of our transportation projects at risk right now?
Well, there's two answers to your question, Laura. The first is the gas tax. The loss of that revenue is a disappointment because there's so many projects chasing too few dollars. So we have a queue just for the region, not the Commonwealth, of $1 billion at least. The loss of the gas tax indexing takes about $100 million out of the pot. So that means longer waits, longer queues, and when you get unhappy surprises, it just makes everything much, much more complicated. The only comfort I take in this, if you look at the map of how the communities in Massachusetts voted, Western Mass supported keeping the gas indexing in place, because I think we get it, how important this is.
So those funds are there for the I-91 viaduct, though?
That's the second part of your answer, though. 80% of the funding for the viaduct is actually federal money, and that's a DC question. And actually, as we sit here, the current federal transportation law and funding is on an extension, and that ends in May. So one of the first things the new Congress and the President have to deal with is a transportation fix.
Okay, that's something we'll be keeping a close eye on. Tim Brennan, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, thank you so much for coming on. As to quote you, there is a lot happening in Western Mass, and it's so nice to see. Thanks for coming on and talking to us about it. Appreciate it. We'll have the last word for you after the break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we talked about MGM Springfield's resort casino project. We heard from the president of MGM Springfield and a city and regional planner about the project and its impact on our region, as well as other projects likely to begin in the area soon. That is our program for today. We want to thank all of our guests for joining us. Thanks to you at home for watching. If you've missed any of it, you can watch it in full on our website at wwlp.com. From all of us here at 22 News, we wish you a wonderful Sunday. Take care.